Listen to me. I need you to hear what I am about to tell you because what follows represents the most destructive psychological trap affecting American retirees today. It has nothing to do with the stock market, nothing to do with inflation, and nothing to do with the IRS. It is happening inside your own head, and it is destroying your retirement one canceled vacation, one skipped dinner, one deferred dream at a time. Her name was Patricia, 71 years old, retired school librarian out of Dayton, Ohio. 32 years she spent organizing reading programs, shelving books, teaching children how to use resources long after the world had gone digital. She did everything right. She maxed out her state pension contributions. She funded a 403(b) every single year. She drove the same Honda Accord for 14 years. She packed her lunch. She clipped coupons, not because she had to, but because that is what responsible people do. When Patricia retired in 2019, she had accumulated a portfolio worth $640,000. By the time she spoke with a financial counselor in early 2026, between market growth and her continued frugality, that portfolio had swelled to just over $820,000. She was, by every mathematical standard, wealthy. She had won the retirement game, and she was absolutely miserable. Patricia called seeking permission. That is the word she used. Permission. She wanted someone to tell her it was okay to spend $1,400 on a guided tour of the Smithsonian with her granddaughter. This woman had $820,000 in investment accounts, a state pension paying her $31,000 a year, and Social Security adding another $22,000 annually. Yet she could not bring herself to spend $1,400 on a memory with her granddaughter without seeking validation. When asked why, she said, "Every time I log into my Fidelity account and I see that number go down even by a few $100s, I feel like I am dying, like I am watching my life savings bleed out on the screen. I know it sounds crazy, I know I have enough, but I physically cannot make myself press the withdraw button without feeling like I am making a terrible mistake." Patricia is not crazy. Patricia is not irrational. She is experiencing a psychological phenomenon so powerful that it overrides decades of disciplined saving and basic mathematics. This pattern affects millions of American retirees. It is what behavioral finance researchers call loss aversion, and understanding it is critical to living the retirement you have earned. The psychology of loss aversion. In 1979, psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky published groundbreaking research demonstrating that human beings feel the pain of a loss approximately 2.5 times more intensely than the pleasure of an equivalent gain. If you gain $1,000, you feel satisfaction. If you lose $1,000, you feel roughly 2.5 times worse than the gain made you feel good. This is not a character weakness. It is the fundamental architecture of the human brain, hardwired into your neurology the same way your reflex to pull your hand off a hot stove is hardwired. You cannot simply think your way out of it. Here is where this becomes destructive for retirees. For 40 years, your employer trained you to do one thing with money: save it. Watch the balance go up. Every payday for 4 decades, you watched your 401(k) and retirement accounts climb. Your brain built a deep association between rising balance and safety, between accumulation and survival. Then you retire, and suddenly the number is supposed to go down. You are supposed to spend it. That is literally what the money is for. But your brain did not get the memo. Your brain is still running the accumulation software. Every time you withdraw money, your brain does not register it as spending. It registers it as loss, triggering the same pain response you would feel if someone stole money from you. Your rational mind knows you are spending your own savings. Your limbic system sees a number going down and screams danger. The accumulation myth and double loss phenomenon. For your entire working life, you were taught one principle: never touch the principal. During accumulation, this commandment made perfect sense. In retirement, it becomes a prison. The principle is not sacred. The principle is fuel. It exists to be spent. A retirement portfolio you refuse to use is not a nest egg. It is merely an account balance. Then there is the double loss phenomenon. Imagine it is February. You need to withdraw $18,000 for a home repair. You log into your brokerage account, and the first thing you see is that your portfolio balance is down. The market dropped 4% last month. Your $800,000 portfolio now shows $768,000. You have not lost a single real dollar. The securities are the same. The dividends still pay, but the screen shows a smaller number, and now you need to withdraw $18,000 on top of that. Your brain experiences this as a catastrophic double loss. The market took $32,000. Now you are taking $18,000. $50,000 gone from the account balance in a single month. Every alarm in your neurological system fires. Your palms sweat, your chest constricts, and you make the decision millions of retirees make. You cancel the repair. You put a bucket under the leak. You defer. You delay. You shrink. Research on retirement spending patterns. Data from the Employee Benefit Research Institute found that roughly 1/3 of retirees still have 100% or more of their pre-retirement savings intact by their mid-80s. A third of American retirees reach advanced age without spending a significant net amount of their savings. A 2024 study by Prudential Financial found that married 65-year-olds with at least $100,000 in financial assets withdrew an average of just 2.1% per year, half the widely researched sustainable rate. These are not people who lack money. These are people who lack permission. They have been conditioned by accumulation psychology and influenced by financial media that profits from fear. As a result, they voluntarily impoverish themselves in the presence of abundance. They eat inexpensive meals with hundreds of thousands in the bank. They cancel trips to see grandchildren. They defer maintenance and experiences, not because they cannot afford them, because spending feels like dying. The mathematics of safe withdrawal. Meet Richard. Richard is 68 years old, a retired engineer from Jacksonville, Florida. He has an $800,000 portfolio, 60% in a broad stock index fund, 40% in investment-grade bonds. He is married to Susan, age 66. Between the two of them, they collect $48,000 a year in Social Security. Their fixed expenses, mortgage paid off, property taxes, insurance, groceries, utilities, Medicare premiums, total about $38,000 a year. Social Security covers that and then some. The portfolio is supposed to fund everything else: the vacations, the hobbies, the car replacements, the gifts to grandchildren. William Bengen, the financial planner who originated the 4% rule in 1994, demonstrated through historical backtesting that a retiree could withdraw 4% of their portfolio in the first year, adjust for inflation in subsequent years, and have a near certainty of not running out of money over a 30-year period. Bengen later revised that number upward to 4.7% based on expanded data. Morningstar's 2026 State of Retirement Income Report puts the baseline safe withdrawal rate at 3.9% for a fixed spending strategy and as high as 5.7% for retirees willing to employ flexible guardrails. 4% of Richard's $800,000 is $32,000 per year. That is $2,666 per month. That is the mathematical safe zone. Richard can withdraw that amount every single month, adjusted for inflation, for the next 30 years. The historical probability of his portfolio surviving is above 95%. Morningstar's own research shows that for a retiree starting with $1 million and withdrawing 3.9%, the median ending balance after 30 years is approximately $2 million. You start with $1 million, you spend from it for 3 decades, and you end up with double what you started with. Yet Richard does not withdraw $32,000 per year. He withdraws far less. Richard uses what is called the manual withdrawal method. He logs into his Schwab account every few months when he needs money, and every time he logs in, he sees the balance. Every time he sees the balance, his loss aversion fires. Every time his loss aversion fires, he withdraws less than he planned. Here is Richard's actual year. In January, the market is up 2%. He feels okay, withdraws $8,000 for the quarter. In April, the market dropped 5% in March. His balance shows $752,000. He was going to take $8,000. He takes $500 and cancels the fishing trip to the Keys. In July, the market recovered, but Richard is still traumatized. He sees $770,000, fixates on the fact that it is lower than January, takes $4,000, and puts off replacing the failing air conditioning unit in the middle of a Jacksonville summer. In October, another 2% dip. He takes $3,000 and tells Susan they are staying home for Christmas. Total withdrawals for the year, $20,000. He had the mathematical green light to take $32,000. He left $12,000 on the table. $12,000 of experiences, comfort, and joy that he voluntarily surrendered because his brain could not distinguish between spending and losing. The solution? Automated systematic withdrawals. The wealthiest retirees in America do not log into brokerage accounts to manually sell shares when they need cash. Manual withdrawal is the single most psychologically destructive financial habit a retiree can maintain. Every login is a trigger event. Every balance check is an emotional ambush. What successful retirees do instead is straightforward. They establish an automated systematic withdrawal plan that deposits a fixed dollar amount into their checking account every single month on the same day, like clockwork. Fidelity calls this a systematic withdrawal plan. Schwab calls it an automatic withdrawal plan. Vanguard calls it an automatic withdrawal service. Every major brokerage in America offers this feature for free. It takes 15 minutes to set up, and it completely dismantles the psychological trap. This works on a neurological level based on a principle known as mental accounting. When money arrives in your checking account automatically, on a predictable schedule, in a predictable amount, your brain does not classify it as a withdrawal from your protected principal. Your brain classifies it as income, as a paycheck, the same way you received a paycheck every 2 weeks for 40 years. Your brain sees the deposit notification, registers it as incoming money, and files it under spendable income, not protected asset. Economist Richard Thaler won the Nobel Prize in Economics in 2017 for his work on this exact phenomenon. Humans do not treat money as interchangeable. We sort it into mental buckets. The paycheck bucket is spendable. The savings bucket is not. The automated deposit tricks your brain into moving retirement withdrawals from the savings bucket to the paycheck bucket. Once the money is in the paycheck bucket, you spend it freely, without guilt, without anxiety. For Richard, same portfolio, same $800,000, same 4% rate, but this time Richard does not log in to sell shares. He called Schwab in January, spent 15 minutes on the phone, and established an automated monthly transfer of $2,666 into his joint checking account scheduled for the 1st of every month. February 1st, $2,666 appears. It looks exactly like the direct deposits he received from his employer for 30 years. He takes Susan to dinner. March 1st, same amount. He books the fishing trip. April 1st, the market dropped 5% in March. cash. Richard does not know this. He does not log in to Schwab. The $2,666 arrived on schedule. In scenario A, Richard manually withdrew $20,000 and lived a constricted, fear-driven life. In scenario B, his automated system withdrew $32,000, exactly the safe amount, and he lived a full, guilt-free retirement. Same portfolio, same market, same man. The only variable was the delivery mechanism. State tax considerations. In Florida, there is no state income tax. Richard's $32,000 annual withdrawal from his portfolio is taxed only at the federal level, and depending on his income composition and long-term capital gains rates, a substantial portion may be taxed at 0% federal capital gains rates. Florida retirees who underspend are leaving money on the table that would have been taxed at rates many working Americans would welcome. You are sitting in the most tax-efficient withdrawal environment in the country, yet you are too fearful to use it. In Ohio, the picture shifts. Ohio has graduated state income tax, and while rates have declined under recent reforms, there is a state-level bite on portfolio withdrawals. However, Ohio exempts Social Security benefits from state income tax entirely. For a retiree like Richard, his $48,000 in Social Security is free from Ohio state tax. His portfolio withdrawals interact with a tax environment where the first tier of income is already sheltered. Underspending in Ohio means forfeiting withdrawals that would have been taxed at some of the lowest effective marginal rates you will ever see. California taxes all retirement income at the state level through a graduated rate topping out at 13.3%. If you are a California retiree caught in the psychological trap of refusing to withdraw, the irony is significant. You are paying a premium for the privilege of being miserable. You hand California its cut, hand the IRS its cut, and then hoard the remainder in an account you refuse to touch. The three-state comparison makes a consistent point. Whether you live in a zero-tax state, a moderate tax state, or a high-tax state, the equation remains the same. The 4% rule works in all 50 states. The automated paycheck works in all 50 states. The only variable is how much reaches your checking account after taxes. In every case, that amount funds a dignified, fully lived retirement. Action steps for your retirement. Step 1. Calculate your annual safe withdrawal amount. Take your total portfolio value, multiply by 4%, divide by 12. For $800,000, that is $32,000 annually, $2,666 monthly. If you want to align with Morningstar's 2026 baseline, use 3.9%. Step 2. Call your brokerage today. Tell them you want to establish a systematic withdrawal plan. Monthly, fixed dollar amount, direct deposit to your checking account. Every major brokerage offers this for free and can set it up over the phone. Step 3. Choose your withdrawal source order. Draw from taxable accounts first, preserving tax-deferred compounding. Once required minimum distributions kick in at 73. Those become mandatory anyway, but you can arrange monthly installments rather than a single annual lump sum. Step 4. Stop logging in. Delete the brokerage app if necessary. You do not need to check your portfolio balance. The money arrives like a paycheck. Your job is to spend it. Step 5. Set a calendar reminder for once annually to review your allocation and adjust your withdrawal amount for inflation. Once per year, not every time the market fluctuates. Review, adjust, log out, resume living. What if the market crashes? The legitimate concern. What if the market crashes right after I set up the automated withdrawal? Bengen's original research already accounted for this. The 4% rule was stress tested against the worst market periods in American history: the Great Depression, the 1970s stagflation period, the dot-com crash, and 2008. The rule survived all of them. A balanced portfolio generates enough recovery and dividend income over a 30-year period to absorb even the worst early retirement market environments in recorded history. Morningstar research shows that even in worst-case scenarios, a retiree withdrawing 3.9% has a 90% probability of portfolio survival over 30 years. In median scenarios, you end up with double your starting balance. The risk of depleting a portfolio at 4% with a balanced allocation is astronomically low. The risk of regret from not spending is nearly 100%. Patricia's outcome. When shown the historical research supporting the 4% rule, the Morningstar data demonstrating that balanced portfolios typically grow even with regular withdrawals, and the actuarial reality that she would leave over $1 million to her children if she maintained her current spending patterns, Patricia made a decision. She booked the trip to the Smithsonian with her granddaughter. She gave herself permission to live. If you are sitting on $500,000 or more and cannot bring yourself to spend it, consider this. Your active, healthy retirement years are a finite resource. That is not a metaphor. That is actuarial reality. Every year you wait to give yourself permission to spend is a year of mobility, energy, and cognitive sharpness you can never recover. You cannot bank your 60s and withdraw them at 80. The trip you defer at 67 is not the same trip at 77. The grandchild who is 6 will not be 6 next year. Richard's original fear cost him $12,000 in unused experiences in a single year. Over 5 years, that accumulates to $60,000 or more in reclaimed life quality. Not because of a market crash, not because of penalties, but because he punished himself for a mathematical crisis that did not exist. Your assignment: calculate your safe withdrawal rate today. Set up an automated monthly paycheck to your checking account. Stop logging into your brokerage account. That is the action line. That is the thing you do today that changes every tomorrow. Your retirement should be lived, not merely accumulated.